So did you know that your brain's actually wired to remember failure more than success? But more importantly, do you know how to fix that? Also, do you know the number one thing that elite athletes do after failure? It might not be what you think. What if you actually have the power within you to rebuild your confidence that's hiding in moments that you've already lived before? Because you already have what it takes to bounce back. So let me show you how to find that within yourself. Hey guys, welcome back to #Team Fuego. This is a video series that I'm making from falling to flying, where we're outlining the steps of overcoming yourself basically after you face a fall off of your horse. But more importantly, how to use that to actually fuel your next success. Now, this does apply to all athletes because falling can look very different in lots of different sports, but there's nothing quite like falling off a horse. But if you want to get the backstory behind this video series, then you're gonna wanna go back to the first video, which I can link here and then down in the description below. But in this video specifically, we are gonna talk about how to reset our minds after difficult situations as athletes and how to regain our confidence after those setbacks. Also, each video is backed by one of my favorite audiobooks about athletes as well, because practicing these techniques is not instantaneous. It's like a muscle, and the more you work on building those muscles, the better you become at it.
I know you know this on a deep subconscious level.
I've spent many years practicing and building these techniques, first as a gymnast and then as a horseback rider. And so while they are second nature to me, I want to make sure that everybody has this information so that you can also use these tools and techniques to make progress in your mental game as an athlete. Because mental toughness is, no matter what sport you do, it's definitely at least 50% of whatever game you're playing. All right, so this was a basketball visualization study done by Dr. Judd.
1 hour later.
By Sato? Oh man, I'm probably butchering that. I am sorry, Dr. Judd. But anyway, there were 3 groups of participants, and the objective was to test the effectiveness of mental rehearsal or visualization compared to physical practice. So group 1 was told not to practice free throws at all. Group 2 practiced shooting free throws physically for 20 minutes a day. And group 3 spent the same amount of time, 20 minutes a day, visualizing themselves shooting free throws, but did not physically practice. So think in your head, what do you actually think happened from this study? Because those results might actually surprise you. Because, well, maybe not this part. Group 1 showed no improvement. So the group that didn't do anything, they didn't show any improvement.
Use your common sense.
So we're not surprised by that. But the second group that was told to physically practice showed a 25% improvement. Basically, physical practice helps you improve what you're practicing on. That's also not surprising.
I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot today.
But the third group that was told not to pick up a basketball, but practice anyway in their mind, actually showed a 24% improvement through pure visualization. So now you might be surprised.
What does it mean?
It tells us that our physical practice is almost, by literally 1%, equally as important as our mental practice. And really, this study outlined the power of mental rehearsal. Now, of course, it is not a complete substitute for physical training, because say if somebody sat on a couch and just visualized throwing free throws and actually never picked up a basketball, they would have 0 muscles in their arms. So this is not about actually just doing mental rehearsal instead of physical practice. But let's think about this for a second. If you were able to improve 25% through physical practice alone and improve 24% through mental practice alone, how much do you think group 4, this hypothetical group 4, would have improved if they did mental and physical practice?
Let's stop and think about what you are saying. What are we talking about?
Something to think about. But in the book that I want to highlight in this video, it's called The Champion's Comeback by Jim Afremow. And this book outlines the 7 steps to bouncing back after a setback. Because even the most successful athletes face challenges, and there are tons of examples in this book of champions that have had to overcome adversity and return stronger than before. And really, that's what challenging situations are. They are an opportunity to return stronger than before.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Hey guys, so this is future Alyssa who is editing these videos right now. I did realize as I was going through them that there are a lot of tests and a lot of exercises and activities as I was creating these 5 videos. And so I actually created a website so that if you guys log in, I can give you a lot of free downloads and free workbook resources so that you can not only do the activities, but follow along and actually use these for success in the future. So back to your regularly scheduled programming. But in this book, he outlines what's called the Champion's Comeback Code. And there are 7 L's that, well, they all start with the letter L, that basically outline how to turn your setbacks into comebacks. The first letter L is letting go. Now, this also relates back to video 1 where we were talking about our capacity for response inhibition, because the ability to let go is actually something where you have to initiate it within yourself. Now, I can also attest that that is one of the hardest things you're gonna have to do. Letting it go is the hardest thing for not just writing and not just even our mental practice here. This is actually one of the hardest things to master when it comes to life itself. But for the purposes of this video and this book, let's stay focused on falling off horses. So what we need to do is let go. We need to release the negative emotions and thoughts about whatever setback you're currently facing. And really what this is it's the ability to override that just innate wanting to dwell on the failure and instead focus on moving forward. And these 7 steps they give you a step-by-step guide of how to move forward. Because champions, they don't suppress their feelings after failure. They allow themselves to feel the disappointment, to feel the frustration, feel that anger, and you don't actually dwell on it. You use those emotions to fuel yourself forward to the next success, whatever that is. So the second L is to look for support, because you need to build a team that can provide you encouragement and guidance. Now, a lot of people, this is going to look like your family, your parents, your barn mates, but maybe sometimes it's not even somebody who's a blood relative of yours. It just has to be somebody who supports you, your adventures, and the journey that you're on. Shout out to Meg.
Are there any questions?
No, that sounds pretty sweet to me.
Right then, let's do it. Go team!
So the third one is to love the game. Remember your passion for whatever sport you do. For us, we're talking about being a 3-day eventer or a horse jumper in general, but remembering how much you love your sport in the first place, even at this point, we have released the negative emotions. However, we may have some lingering kind of like meh about it. But remembering why you love your sport in the first place is a simple step to reigniting that passion and coming up with some natural motivation to keep going. So the fourth... whatever number we're on. So the fourth one is to learn. Put in the hard work that is required to overcome whatever setback you're currently facing. Because you want to know what I did? The first thing I did after I came back home from that fall, again, story in video 1, is I signed up for a jump lesson and I forced myself to go jump as soon as possible. Because obviously, whatever went wrong, there's an area for improvement there. All elite athletes and champions see setbacks as valuable learning experiences. What you're going to do is you're going to analyze your mistakes, you're going to extract whatever lessons that you can, and use that knowledge to fuel your comeback for your next success. Of course, easier said than done, but it is a necessary step in the process. So number 5, you got to put in the labor. You have to put in the hard work that is required for that successful comeback. Now, this could involve physical rehabilitation. For me in my story, like in video 1, I had a black eye. And so it was a mental development of mental toughness, because I had to look at that failure in the mirror every morning when I woke up, and every time I brushed my teeth, every time I had to put makeup on, every time I even passed a reflection and I was reminded.
What would you do?
And so for me, this was a sincere test of my mental toughness, because I had to look at that and think, what did I learn? And what am I going to do different next time? So number 6 is one that I struggle with, but it is to learn optimism. So believe in your ability to overcome challenges and practice visualizing a positive outcome, because ultimately, once you fall off your horse or have some sort of setback like that, it's really easy to get stuck in this, really unhelpful cycle of, I'm a failure, I messed up. Every time I looked in a mirror or any sort of reflection, I was reminded of what a failure I was. And so letting go of that negativity and that really bad pattern and embracing some optimism is essential for bouncing back from whatever setback you're currently facing.
Are you gonna do it or are you not?
Because elite athletes, as Jim points out in the book, focus on their strengths and their ability to overcome challenges. So number 7 is leaning on your mental game. So utilizing mental techniques such as positive self-talk, and visualization, and focus on enhancing your performance by managing your stress are key elements to your mental game that you either need to develop or that you need to continue to practice, because these are things that I practice regularly. Even though they're things I know how to do, they are things that you actively work on no matter how far along this journey that you're on, because once you stop practicing them, that's when they get stale. That's when they stop working for you.
We just did a good job game planning. We trusted the game plan and it worked.
Essentially, Jim emphasizes that the key to responding to failure like a champion is not getting stuck in the past, but using whatever experiences you've had to motivate your future comeback. Now, easier said than done, so I'm actually going to give you a tip in this video about how to actually do that. How to actually, create your own positive self-talk even when you don't want to. Because champions are not defined by their failures. They are defined by how they overcome adversity and come back stronger. There was no better example of this than Simone Biles at the most recent Olympics. I don't have to tell you the entire story. She overcame a mental block, and unfortunately, she had to overcome it on a world stage. The rest of us get to just suffer in silence, in the privacy of our own homes. She had to literally put her mental problems out on display for the world. And so if this book ever got an update, I have a feeling there would be a big chapter about Simone Biles in it, and she could probably write the foreword for this entire book. But you may be thinking, I am not an Olympic gymnast. Alyssa, that's all fine and dandy, but I wouldn't be seeking this help if I was actually able to do all of these steps for myself. And fair play. But I have a strategy for you for this. Nowadays, with everyone's ability to video your rides on their phones, by now you have a pile of footage of yourself riding and being successful. So I've been editing videos for about a decade now, and I've linked a completely free YouTube playlist down below on how to edit videos in iMovie. So if you don't know how to edit videos, don't worry, there's an entire playlist down below to teach you step by step exactly how to edit your own video. But one of the most powerful things you can do is create a highlight reel of yourself and put it to your absolute favorite power-up song. Side note, comment down below what yours is. Mine tends to change because, since I've made so many videos, if I made it all with the exact same song, that would be super boring. So I tend to now, when I hear a song and I'm motivated by it, then make a video to match whatever song that I'm inspired by, which I can link down below the last video I made because of a song that I was inspired by. It was actually such a cool version of the song I'm a Survivor. But before you say it, before you even think it,
No! God, please, no! No!
editing videos is actually very easy, and anyone can learn this skill. Anyone. And plus, FYI, it's actually an extremely valuable skill to have outside of riding horses. But for the purposes of this video, once you have your highlight reel with your power-up song, it's something that you can watch over and over again. Now, the trick is when to watch it. And we're gonna dive into this a bit more in the next video where we develop our own pre-ride rituals. But I would highly recommend making this video and adding it to your tack-up routine to remind yourself that you are amazing.
Be amazing because you are amazing.
And you've got this. Because despite any setbacks, You have done this before. So the links to the books and the free playlist are down below so that you can edit your own highlight reel. Actually, the next one I'm going to do is Pitbull and Bon Jovi did a crossover of It's My Life, and I absolutely love that song. So that's probably the next video that I'm going to make, but I have hundreds of example videos if you want any sort of guidance on that. But you're a badass and you've got this. Pause this video and tell me what your power-up song is down below. But once you do that, then we are going to construct our perfect pre-game, pre-arena ritual in the next video. So I will see you there.